Can y'all hear me? Alright, so I'm going to talk about indigenous names and why they are not ghetto, quote unquote, ratchet names. A lot of these names that we call ratchet and quote unquote ghetto and whatever, a lot of those names are indigenous names. One of the key parts of the name is like Quan, like Shaniqua and Shaquana, things like that. The Kwa at the end means empress or quote unquote queen. That's what Kwa means. Like the word squaw, the derogatory, well, the word that the Europeans made derogatory, squaw, is a title. It means an empress. It means a queen, quote unquote. Queen has a whole other meaning than what we're told, but that's what a squaw is. A squaw is an empress. So people named Shaniqua, it's a title. She's a queen. She's an empress in some sort of way. So I got a list. Let me look for this list I got my computer in front of me. So I'm basically free. I didn't get enough time to do any extra research, y'all. So I got this little list that I put together, and I'm gonna see which names. This is just based off the names of people that I have encountered with these indigenous names. So, hey, Belinda. All right, so, okay, here's one of them, Sequoia. I know y'all know a whole bunch of sequoias. I done grew up with about 3 different sequoias. So Sequoia is an indigenous name. It means large tree. I believe it's from the Iroquois dialect. I don't have all the dialects. I don't have all the different breakdowns, but I just got a few names with a few of the meanings to them. Okay, so another one is Cuba. Now, Cuba is actually an indigenous name. It's not Spanish like some people believe. Cuba is an indigenous name. Excuse me. I'm stumbling today. Shima. Shima is an indigenous name spelled Shima, and that means mother. So Shima means mother. Dina. Dina is another one. I forget what Dina means. Dasan is one. I know a lot of people named Dashan. I know some people named Dasan. Spelled Dasan. So that's one of the names. Kai. Kai is an indigenous name. I know a lot of people named Kai. I think Kai Shomo's on my friends list. I don't know if he's I don't know if he's watching right now, but he is. I believe he's a Lenape. Kaya or Kiya is another indigenous name. The spelling is all transliteration. So a lot of our languages don't have a written language, or it doesn't look like the written dramatic script. So a lot of these names are transliterations. And that's why you see a lot of people with that same name that's pronounced the same, but it's spelled different. Because a lot of it's not, it's foreign to the dramatic Latin script. So, Keely is another one. Remember there's a girl, Keely, in 702. I think she was in 702. Keely. Coco, which is very common. Coco means night. It's an indigenous name. So I know a lot of people know Coco. I know a couple Cocos. Dakota, of course, that sounds so obvious. I know a Dakota. Dakota is an indigenous name. I don't have the meaning for this one, but I I'm assuming it comes from the Sioux language, or the Lakota language. Okay. Maya is also an indigenous name, and Maya has different meanings for different indigenous languages. Maya means water in certain languages. Maya also means earth. Maya in other languages also means illusion. So it means something, if you connect water, earth, and illusion, it's kind of like have a godly name to it, I guess. More like it's a spiritual name. All right, and let's see, what's this one? Mika. Now, I know y'all know a whole bunch of Tamikas and Kamika and Lamika and all that. Mika is an indigenous name, and Mika means people. So when people say Mika, I know people think Mika is one of the most ratchet names. I think it's a beautiful name. But Mika is from the Indigenous American dialect. Let's see what else. Who's on here? Is that Keith? We have a table of Indigenous Cherokee Kitawa names. Many can't be pronounced. Yeah, I'm probably not pronouncing these the right way either, because I'm just pronouncing them. Oops, sorry, I'm shaking the camera. I'm pronouncing them the common way that we all know, so y'all can understand what I'm trying to say. Minda is also another name. It means knowledge. Minda. And a lot of these names come from, a lot of the ones that people actually use come from the Iroquois language group. So let's see what else we got. So I said Minda means knowledge. People also use Mindy as a name from there. Andre, you speaking Spanish? I don't speak Spanish. I speak enough Spanish to get by. I don't know what you're saying. You said something about your sister. I'm a great sister. I don't know what you're saying. Andre, you're going to have to translate that. But anyways, Nika. Nika is also an indigenous name. Nika means wild goose. So Nika, Niki, stuff like that, spelled Neke. But like I said, it's a transliteration of it. You say, am I bilingual, Rhonda? No, I'm not bilingual. That's why I'm trying to figure out why Andre writing in Spanish. I took a lot of Spanish classes, but I can't remember none of that stuff, to be honest. I only remember like a few greetings and, maybe be able to order something at a Mexican restaurant, but that's about it. All right, I said Nika is wild goose. And here's another one, Nita, like Anita, Onita. I've heard people named Onita, Anita, like Anita Baker. Nita is an indigenous name, and it means bear. So, Nita means bear. What'd you say? Shaniqua is Shaquita, and means little one. Okay, yeah, Shaniqua, Shaquita. My mother almost named me Conchita. Weird. All right, hold on 1 second. I tapped all your comments off. Yeah, so I said Nika means bear. And, a lot of us know people named Nika or Anita. I said Nita means bear. A lot of us know people named Nita or Anita. So, he said, my name is pronounced that way with Shah. Shaniqua. So your name means, what does Shah means? Probably like Grand Empress or something. So the Kwa in your name, Shaniqua, means Empress. Okay, let me see what else I said. Okay, so Olinda or Linda or Yolanda all have the same meaning, which means a violet flower. So Yolanda, Olinda, Linda are indigenous names. Sean, you said I have an auntie named Sunleaf, and it's her real first name. That's interesting. All right, Onita. Some people know Onita. Onita means standing rock. So, in whatever language that is, I believe that's the Iroquois language again. Onita means standing rock. Shenandoah, which I know a lot of European girls in Virginia named Shenandoah, named after Shenandoah Park, Shenandoah, that whole area with all the crystals. I might go there one day. There's an area in Virginia called Shenandoah, and they have all these caverns and caves that are like full of crystals. So you know that energy there is very strong in Shenandoah. Hey, Ray. I don't know if you've been there, Ray. Have you been to Shenandoah? You know, I've been talking about it for years. I still haven't gone out there, but hopefully one day soon I'll go. And Shenandoah is named after an Odina chief. So it's like probably another title. Shenandoah is probably a title as well. All right. And okay. And Tawana, my girl Tawana Brown, I don't know if she's on here. But Tawana means created or creator. So Tawana, girl, you a creator. You said you want to go Blenda? Yeah, we should plan that, Blenda. We should plan to go to Shenandoah because that's not that far. Okay. Juanita is another indigenous name. Juanita or Juanetta. People change it. Juanita, Juanetta, Jonetta. Though that name means shapeshifter. So that's kind of like a shapeshifter. So a Juanita is a shapeshifter. Okay. Let's see what else I got. And Winona, like Winona Ryder. That crazy actress lady. Winona means firstborn. Like a firstborn daughter. You said I thought Juanita was Spanish. No, those are indigenous names. A lot of them names that we attribute to being like Spanish or Mexican or whatever. Like, I thought Tawana was Mexican too, like Spanish from that dialect. It's indigenous. So they adopted a lot of this stuff probably in the early 1500s, 1600s. And it came, you know, people in Europe started using that name. But it comes from here originally. All right, and Yancey. You heard Yancey on Love and Hip Hop? I don't watch Love and Hip Hop, so I don't know, but I swear there's somebody named Yancey on there. Anyways, Yancey is an indigenous name, and it means Englishman or foreigner. Ray, you said Kiona is an indigenous name. Yeah, Kiona is an indigenous name. You said Cora. I'm not sure about Cora. I can look it up real quick. I'll look it up for you, Karen. But I just got a few more left on this list. This little list I threw together. So I'm just going to try to finish that. All right. Yuma. It means son of a chief or a prince. So it's like a title. Yuma. I heard of some Mexican kid that was in my class. His name was Yuma. So that's why I put him on the list. But that's an indigenous name. It's not like, it's not Spanish. So you had a friend who pronounced it Kiana. Yeah, I think that's probably the proper pronunciation, Kiana. All right, Tula. I haven't heard of a Tula before. Tula is indigenous and means peak. All right. All right, I can't even pronounce this. Tazana or Zana. I heard somebody named Zana. Zana. Pronounce those Tazana, Zana, or Tazana. And that means princess. You said you know somebody named Yancey? Yeah, Yancey. I think it was Yancey on Love and Hip Hop. I don't watch all those reality shows no more. That was like 17 years ago when they first came out. I watched them, but now it's too much. I might peek in if I'm flipping channels, but okay, Talise. I think I got Talise. I know a Talise. Talise is indigenous and it means beautiful water. So I'm pretty sure the other names like Elise and Elise and however you pronounce those, I believe those are probably, come from that word Talise, and that means beautiful water. And Kateri, I know a Kateri, and Kateri is a Mohawk word, and it means is a variant for a Catherine. So they kind of put their Mohawk twist on that one. And I believe the Mohawk are they're Mingos, and they speak the Iroquois language. So let me see what y'all talking about. Shania, yeah, Shania is one too. I don't have the meaning for Shania. Let's see what else is going on. Trying to read y'all comments because so many people showed up for this one. 21 people in here. You said Jenny. Let me go back and see what was that name again, Karen? Cora. Let me look up Cora real quick. If any of y'all have any other names. You said Yaya. You said, are there names for the more indigenous nationality card? No, these are just indigenous names because people ask about these names a lot. My girl Lulu, she was talking about it before about it not being ghetto and stuff, and I told her I had like a list of these names I had written down, and showing that these names are indigenous. They have meaning. They have a lot of them like Shaniqua that people try to say is ratchet, which sound, to me it sounds like a beautiful name, and it's a title. It's a title for an empress. It's not a negative name because they want to say our names are negative or just just because they don't understand it or it's hard for them to pronounce or write or whatever spell. A lot of these names are regal names. They're royal names. They have titles, and there's a certain you should be proud of your name. No matter what it is. My name. Some people might think my name is Ghetto. My name is Tasha, but it's like, well, in Russia, it might be Ghetto. It's a Russian name. It means favored. What's it called? It's basically like favored by God or something like that. It's not a bad name, but because in America they put all these stigmas on people's names, and they want to place us in all these boxes. That's how we get that. Sometimes our names have a little bit of shame attached to it. Like I was, teased. My name is Tasha. It's like people assume you're a certain way just by your name, but that's not necessarily true. So they make our names sound like they are negative to keep us from learning about ourselves. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing. Good evening, Patrick. Oh, that's good to know. You're doing okay. Okay. Yeah, so let me look up that name for you real quick. Let's see. I also have this thing right here talking about some of the names that I left out. Kiya is also one of the indigenous names. Nadi, I know like a lot of people have ancestors named Nadi. It's spelled Nadie. So Nadi is one of them. Ayana is one too. So Ayana, I know a lot of people named Ayana, Iyana. That's an indigenous name. By not using indigenous name and customs, have we removed ourselves from the cosmic order? Well, I wouldn't say we removed ourselves from the cosmic order because subconsciously a lot of people are still naming their children these names, even if they don't understand the meaning or customs or titles behind them. As you see, like a lot of these names, y'all know, like one person named, T as one. Ayana. What does Ayana mean? This one doesn't have this page. Let me look up, I'm going to look up Cora and Ayana, because this page is kind of debunking it. It's a Kiowa, a Cherokee name. And this person is saying that Ayana does not mean blossom. Oh, okay. It says right here, Ayana does not mean blossom. or eternal. No, never mind. It says not. So let me look that one up real quick for y'all. And then I'm gonna look up Korah. I'm already looking at Korah. Let's see. This is popular Native American name. Okay. Yeah, but a lot of people don't know these names are indigenous names. So, it's kind of lost to history. You say you Cherokee peeps? Yeah, Cherokee. A lot of these names that they call ratchet are Cherokee or Iroquois names that I have been finding out. Alright, let's see. Korah. Yes, Korah is actually an Indian tribe, Karen. Korah is an Indian tribe. Let's see, Korah's meaning. Let's see. The Korah, oh look, this is called the Korah people, if you're still here, Karen. It says the Korah people are an indigenous ethnic group of western central Mexico. Alright, they speak the, let me see. No, I thought this is. They have become a pagan island of Sea of Christian Indians. So the Korah people still have their religion, have their original religion. They haven't converted to Christianity like the rest of the Mexican people. I'm assuming that's what they're saying. Alright, so Korah is officially American. Let me find out what it means. The meaning of Korah. Real quick, my computer's moving slow because I have some issues going on. Korah means maiden. So I guess like a young lady before she's married is a Korah. And that's what that tribe wanted to name themselves, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, let me look up Ayana. It's a feminine given name, Ayana, often claimed to be Native American, meaning blossom or flower, eternal flower. Let me see what the real meaning is. It says it means beautiful flower. Let me see another. Let me look up the official one. Good evening, Jay. Yeah, I assume that's what it means, like a beautiful flower, Ayana. But it's an indigenous name, but it's also interestingly found in Somalia. So, what'd you say, Andre? She have a mind that been Back to the Future. I'm trying to get on her level. Her work is great. Is that a rhyme or something? You dropping a freestyle on me? Dropping a dope freestyle. Let's see what else. Y'all got any questions? Any more names? You said Ordell. I don't know about Jean or Ordell or Jerome. Tia is one, but Tia is also, I believe it's has a Latin origin, Spanish. Alright, let me look at these other names. Yeah, oh, the Korah Indians are also in Baja, California, too. So, Jerome, I just said I don't know about Jerome. I believe that's dramatic. That's the English name. He said, it's crazy, despite calling ourselves free, many of us still go by surnames of slave masters that owned our family. Well, actually, most people chose those names as their surnames. Like Freeman, there's no only the mixed ones. There's no European surname called Freeman. Freeman is something we created because, people want to be proud of being free. So, you said Howard. Howard is the English surname. But you got to go back to a lot of these free people of color choosing some of those names, or having like one European person in the family with those surnames, and they take on, even if it was a male or female, sometimes they would take on that surname to, because they didn't see it as a European name, they saw it as a Christian name. So changing your last name or gaining a last name that was Christian made it official that you were a Christian person. You weren't, it kind of protected the people that were free and actually lived within the Western society. They weren't, I don't like the term wild. They weren't wild Indians or whatever. They weren't wild free people of color. So they took on those names to basically say, hey, we're not going to start trouble. We're part of your society. We're Christian people. That's how our free ancestors did to protect ourselves. So, you said, thanks, Jerome. Yeah, no, I didn't ignore you. I said, I doubt that one is indigenous. Hey, Max. You said unsavage. The civilized folks. They had to become, you guys got to remember, during the first part of the 1600s, well, a good chunk of the early 1600s, people were free based on them converting to Christianity. Tribes were not bothered with also for converting to Christianity. So, like in Jamestown, a lot of people, there was actually a trial of this young lady who was mulatto. I believe her father was European or something. She ended up marrying a European lawyer who was a slave. Interesting enough, her European husband was a slave, and he was a lawyer, and he represented her in court. And I believe she won her court case, and she gained her freedom based off of being a Christian woman and also off of her father being a European Christian. But her mother was still enslaved. The narratives say that her mother was an African slave. There's not really much documents to confirm that, but we know that she, from the picture, she looked very Negroid. She didn't really look like biracial people look now. So, it could be anything. But the interesting thing, like I said, was both her and her husband, who was European, were slaves, and her husband and herself, they were both smart enough. Well, she actually helped put the case together. They were actually smart enough to put the case together and get her freedom based on her father's status. And then after that, that's when they changed it to you're a slave based on your mother's status. So this is in Virginia, one of the pivotal court cases. I can't remember her name right now, but she's very important to our history based on that. But it was interesting that this man, her husband, was a slave. They said he was a slave or indentured servant, and he was actually working as a lawyer, which I found was very interesting. So you can't see Hecka. You might have to exit out and come back in, because I know that happens when I watch y'all live feed. You said, my grandmother was named Ella. Do you know the meaning of Ella? I was told through oral history that she was Cherokee Indian mixed with Scotch, Irish, and Spanish. I can look up Ella real quick. I do not believe Ella is indigenous, but I was surprised by some of these other names. So let me put Ella. I know Ella Fitzgerald was indigenous. She has indigenous heritage from the Powhatan Nation. So who knows if Ella... You said you don't know why you can't see. As long as you can hear. See, I got my special microphone so y'all can hear me. You can always watch it later. All right. Okay, Ella, Native American name. Just look it up real quick. So, yeah, it happened to me all the time, Hecka. Jamil, you said no African slavery during that time because the Ottoman Empire controlled eastern and western waters. Well, Jamil, the interesting thing about that is they did get some of those people because of the piracy and the war, the Barbary War that was going on. A guy he's a European guy who is an archaeologist, actually told me that those first slaves that they counted as Negro, excuse me, Negro in Jamestown were actually slaves that were Moors from Europe that were caught in the Barbary War, and a pirate ship of Europeans, I don't know if they were Spanish, Portuguese, whatever, captured those people, and they sold them to Jamestown. So those people were actually European Moors. You know, they have African descent, a lot of the Moors of Europe. Some of them are more indigenous. They were indigenous people of color. But a lot of those indigenous people were smart enough to marry in with the Moors, because the Moors controlled Europe at that time. That would have been, the most smart thing to do. They look closer to them. They can relate to them. And then, of course, the Moors, they started marrying in with the paler Europeans. But they married in with the dark-skinned indigenous people first. That, some of them are related to the Twa and different groups. Other groups are already there. So, Ethiopian groups as well. Let's see what Ella is an American name. Let me check this out. It's Indian. You said correct, Jamil? Yes. I know a little bit of Moorish history. I did, some studies in it. I actually did a report on it in school before. I used to be obsessed with that artwork. It's so beautiful, the Moorish artwork. The architecture and the paintings that they drew of themselves. So there were white-collar criminals from Europe that were sent here as servants. Also, the Moors had many European slaves. Yeah, a lot of this stuff, the whole chattel slavery stuff, goes back to them trying to get a revenge on the Moors. Which some of y'all know. Like I said, a lot of the first slaves that they count as African coming here were actually the Moors that they rid Europe of. So, I know, like I asked the question before, what happened to all the melanated people in Europe? Well, a lot of them were shipped here, or shipped to Africa as slaves. So that's what happened to a lot of them. You also see in the legislature, laws and treaties, them mentioning more separate from Africans or indigenous people or whatever. So, let me see what Ella means. Oh, Ella is actually Sanskrit, and that means earth. So it's from India. It's a Sanskrit name, or Hindu, if you want to call Hindu. Oh, I can't click that link. Hey, Corey, excuse me. What's your name? Corey. Let's see. It said running the bulls. Yeah, the running of the bulls, basically running them out of Europe and out of their titles, out of their leadership, their rulership. I said it right, Corey? You laughing at me? All right. So Ella is Sanskrit. So Ella is a Sanskrit name. Let me see if I can find some more names. Oh, there's actually a Muskogee queen, quote unquote, empress named Ella Monowi. I'm not good at pronouncing. I'm not good at Muskogee, but it's Monowi. You said, what does she mean? XI? She is the she people. That's misnomered, the Olmecs. She. Alright, let me see what else. Let me see what other names. So y'all know, like I said, I'm freestyling. I didn't have time to, I was so busy earlier. I didn't have time to look it up. You say you being nosy? Okay. So my grandmother is Cherokee. Her name is Ozell. I don't know what Ozell. My grandma's name Moselle. And I know her name is French. It means like little woman, little madam, something like that. But that Ozel is probably from Moselle. It's probably the same name. It's probably that French name. So I was told my grandmother on your mother's side was Ethiopian from North Carolina. Is that possible? Yeah, it's very possible. I know this lady who is I think the Ethiopians kept marrying into each other. But she told me this interesting story about her family. Her last name is Taylor. So the family, of course they're Ethiopian, that's not their real last name. The family were tailors, and they were hired by these Europeans to come to the islands. I believe she was from Barbados. They were hired to come to the islands and tailor on the plantations for the masters. So they had their own store set up on one plantation, and they would make clothing for the masters in different plantations and also clothing for the slaves. Usually a lot of slaves wore like the hand-me-down clothes, and the tailors, her family, would patch up the clothes and repair them so they can be able to work and not look too bad. But they were of Ethiopian origin. She said several other families from Ethiopia came to the islands, and they had they were free people, considered free people of color. They also had their own skills and trades, and they had their own businesses. Something happened during that time, and the families, a lot of families fled to Florida and Georgia and those areas. She said that her family went to Florida. And what happened was, during that first part of 1800s, after they banned importation or, the transportation of all these slaves around, importation from Africa or transportation of other slaves from around the states, they had more strict rules. They started doing is they started to enslave the free people of color in the South. So this Ethiopian family and the other families that they knew ended up being captured and put into slavery. And she said what happened was that the Seminoles are actually a group that came to these different plantations and freed her family and freed other Ethiopian families. And a lot of those families joined the Seminole Nation. Now, her family didn't join the Seminole Nation. They ended up, I think they went up north for a while, and then they eventually came back down to Florida, to Orlando area, she told me, and where Disneyland was starting. And I think they actually sold some of their land to Disney, and that's how they got some money. So it's interesting. I didn't know anything about Ethiopians coming here, but it was interesting. She told me that it wasn't just her family, because her family kept marrying into other Ethiopian families, and they all stuck together. They didn't try to marry outside of that. So this woman considered herself African American, which she was because she's Ethiopian, but she was like, most of her heritage is Ethiopian. And they were able to maintain that from the 1700s up until present day. Now, I think her husband's just a regular Negro like us, but most of the other people end up marrying within the same families, because that's how the free people of color did. They tried to stick with their tribe, basically, or their group of people. So that's why when some of us do our genealogy, we have people who, on both sides of our family, who are from the same tribal groups or have that same look, So, what was I about to say? Somebody said something to me. You said the she refers to the rubber people. Yes, she means, she has to do with rubber people, and she also has to do with the tree of life. So the she people are from, it says rubber tree or tree of life. So as some people know, a lot of people don't know, rubber is actually indigenous to America. It's not indigenous to Africa. What happened was, when the Europeans came here, the Portuguese, really was the Portuguese, they took the rubber tree to the Congo, and that's where they had the plantation set up. So that's where she rubber people come from. I hear a lot of people saying oh, the name she being rubber people is proof that they're African. No, it's not, because rubber trees are indigenous to America only. And they were taken during slavery to Africa. So, what did you say, Corey? He said, I heard the Seminoles freed a lot of captured people. I have a lot of respect for them. They're the only tribe out of the 5 civilized tribes that didn't sell out. Yeah, the Seminole, a lot of people don't understand what the Seminoles and the Yamansi had done. I did not pronounce, y'all keep saying I'm pronouncing Yamansi wrong. I think it's Yamansi. But yeah, the Yamansi and the Seminoles and those two groups, which they don't get the Yamansi any props for doing it, were some of the people who were doing a lot of raiding of plantations and a lot of freeing of slaves. And a lot of that's lost to history. You only hear about Harriet Tubman and Underground Railroad, excuse me. But there was other people that were doing that before her, before she was even born. Groups, whole tribes of people were doing this. And that's why they keep coming up with this narrative of us looking like this because we're mixed with runaway slaves or whatever. But people don't realize a lot of the slaves that they were freeing, not all of them, but a whole lot of them were their own family. They were tribal members that they were freeing. Yamasee, yeah. I say Yamansi. I say like a Caucasian person. Yamasee. Yeah, but a lot of these people that they were freeing were their own family members. I think Osceola, he actually started one of the wars because they took his wife as a slave and they were trying to get her back and trying to get the other members. Because of all the trading that was going on. The Seminoles or the Yamasee were major traders with them since probably 1500s. And a lot of what they were doing is because people were getting greedy on the European side. A lot of land was opening up. They were creating these basically BS trades and trying to say that the Yamasee or the Seminoles, I think Seminoles' name came way later, but they're essentially Yamasee. They were saying that they were not paying their debts and things like that, so they were saying, well, because you didn't pay your debt, we're going to have to take your children, your wife, your son, these people as slaves for repayment. And that's how a lot of people got into slavery. They also had other tribes raiding their villages and towns for people. And that happened through the whole country, even on the West Coast. A lot of people don't talk about Indian slavery on the West Coast. If you look at those people, a lot of us have people in our family who look like those people in those tribes as well. So there was a whole lot going on. A lot of people don't want to hear different sides. They don't want to hear about Indian slavery. Some of the people who claim to be indigenous don't want to hear about any Africans being enslaved. But all those people are being enslaved, including Europeans and people from India or, the East Indies were being enslaved. People from Asia were being enslaved here. People from Pacific Islands were also documented as being enslaved. So it was a lot of stuff going on. And there's also, we were communicating before that, which they don't talk about. So, said several Muskegee clans mixed together. Yeah, a lot of the groups, they mixed together, even within our nation, Corey. People, because of certain risk and they wanted protection, people would flock to another town and join, then the whole tribe be wiped out because they become the other tribe. So for protection, a lot of groups blended in and mixed with each other, intermarried, and stuff like that. David, you said you read the story of John Horse, Drew, Florida, and a lot of South Florida people. Yeah, John Horse, he was enslaved, and the tribe actually freed him, and he went on to be a chief, a leader, and he was actually one of the most successful leaders of them because he was able to win. I believe he was involved in 2 of the wars. The last 2, and he was able to take all the people to Mexico and work with the Mexican government to give them some land in Mexico. And what happened was they kind of messed up later on. I don't know if John Horace was dead or what was going on, but a couple of people agreed to be Seminole Negro Indian scouts for the American government because the government here promised to give them their own reservation land in like Texas and areas like that that was new to the U.S. territory. So the U.S. didn't really care about it at the time. So a couple of people said, hey, we'll work a couple months or years for the government for this land because we want to come home. We don't want to be in Mexico. And, you know, that's how that stuff happens. He said, oh, Mac reads rubber people. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It means rubber people. It means tree of life as well. But like I said, rubber is indigenous only to America. That's what a lot of people do not point out. So, and like I said, rubber got to Africa through the slave trade. Okay, let me see what you're saying. Uh-oh. Y'all, my battery going dead. He said, I think it would be dope if people just looked at how we did back then, which was y'all are here, not Africa, so y'all us regardless now that you're here. Yeah, that's what people don't understand. Like, when these people, these racist people who claim to be natives, and they act like they're representing all natives, which they do not, because that's not an indigenous way. They try to tell us that we're not part of the tribe because we are, we're not part of the tribe because we're this and that. So I'm sorry, I'm thought. They so yeah, that's what they do. But anybody who's, hey sweetie, anybody who's part of that, who's part of the tribe is part of the tribe. It doesn't matter which race you are. So
I want to see my Kindle.
oh, you need to go back to bed, sweetie. All right. So yeah, so that's basically what I was saying, that